So thank you so much. So I'm going to officially call the meeting to order. So the 5th annual meeting of the Girl Scouts of Southeastern Michigan will come to order. I would ask everyone to please rise for the opening flag ceremony, which will be conducted by members of our Girl Advisory Board.
Girl Scouts attention. Color Guard advance. Color Guard, please post the colors. Color Guard, please honor your flag. Please join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color Guard dismissed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, girls. And as board chair, I welcome you all to the 5th annual meeting of the Girl Scouts of Southeastern Michigan. So I'd like to begin by having us recite the Girl Scout Promise and Law. And so I probably should have kept you standing, but if you'd all please stand again. On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law. And the law is, I will do my best to be honest and fair, friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, and responsible for what I say and do, and to respect myself and others, respect authority, use resources wisely, make the world a better place, and be a sister to every Girl Scout. Thank you. You may be seated. So at this time, I'd like to introduce the people that are sitting at the head tables. So if people at the tables would please stand when I call your name. First of all, I'd like to introduce Rhonda Orr, who is our board secretary. Denise Dalrymple, of course, our CEO. Diane Young, who is our treasurer and chair of the finance committee. Rick Sundquist, who is board member and chair of our property committee. Peter Keating, who is board member and chair of the board development committee. And then finally, our parliamentarian, Connie DeFord. Okay. So thank you. I'd also like to introduce the board of directors that are present. And so again, if board members would stand when I call your name. So we have Denise Calisi. There's Denise. John DeFrancesco. Of course, I've already introduced Pete Keating. Elaine Marcotte. Lisa Morse. Doreen Okel. Okay, and I've already introduced Rhonda. Kathy Ocean. And myself, Nancy Philippart. Maureen Stapleton. Okay, we've already introduced Rick Sundquist and also Diane Young. Okay. And with that, thank you very much. Of course, board of directors are also voting delegates of the council. So next we'll move on to vote on the credentials report, today's meeting agenda, and the standing rules. And so Rhonda Orr, board secretary, is now recognized.
Good morning. Good morning. There are 112 voting council members consisting of 21 members of the board of directors, 3 members of the board development committee, and 88 council delegates representing their districts. Per our bylaws, the quorum for the annual meeting shall be 25% of the members of the corporation or 28 members, provided that a majority of the council region's 46 districts are represented by at least one delegate. We have 25% of the members of the corporation in attendance and a majority of districts. Present at today's meeting are 63 registered members of the corporation and 38 districts, representing the delegates and the board of directors. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you, Rhonda. So our next item of business, the question is on the adoption of the credentials report as just given. So those in favor of accepting the credentials report, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, the ayes have it and motion is adopted. And there is a quorum present, so we will be able to continue on with the business of the meeting. I now move that the annual meeting agenda as shown in your workbook be adopted. Would someone please second that?
Second.
Okay, so moved. Is there any discussion? Okay, so the question is on the adoption of the annual meeting agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. I next move that the standing rules for the annual meeting, as again shown in your workbook, be adopted. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay. It is moved and seconded to adopt the standing rules for the annual meeting. Is there any discussion? So the question is on the adoption of the standing rules for the annual meeting. So for this vote, I'm going to ask all those in favor if you would please rise. Okay, thank you. You may be seated. And all those opposed, if you would please rise. Okay, so there are 2/3 in the affirmative, and therefore the rules for this meeting are adopted. Thank you. And so next on the agenda, if there is no objection, Barb Sosin will be appointed head teller for today's meeting, assisted by members of the Girl Advisory Board who will serve as tellers. And so Barb is in the back here. Since there is no objection, they are hereby appointed. And Barb and your assistants, again, if you just stand and everybody, let's give them a round of applause. Okay, so moving right along, I'm going to make a few remarks this morning, and then obviously this portion of the agenda where we're going to really give you kind of an update of what's been going on in the council. So my report today, I'm going to primarily cover three things. First, I want to talk about Girl Scouts of the USA priorities and share with you how the priorities of our council map to those. And hopefully you'll see that even though they're somewhat worded differently, that we've got good alignment. And then I'm going to really talk about a couple of the priorities that are very important that the board has had responsibility on, and then a number of the other priorities you'll hear in Denise's remarks. That being philanthropy, because that is a key role of the board, as well as some of the work that's going on to engage both traditional and non-traditional volunteers. So here are the 6 national core priorities as developed in 2013 by GSUSA. Movement leadership across councils talks about the ability to have consistent leadership to be able to, frankly, deliver a great and consistent Girl Scout leadership experience to girls regardless of where in the country they are. Focus on K-5 girls. I'll be doing a deeper discussion on that in a moment as to why. I think it's fairly compelling on why that is a very urgent strategic priority. The Girl Scout leadership experience, that focus remains on ensuring that all girls have a consistent leadership experience regardless of whether they are in troops or out of troops or where in the country they are. The utilization of technology. If we're going to be a relevant organization as well as a productive organization, we need to ensure that, again, consistently across councils, we have good and effective technology and that we can communicate with each other. Fundraising for the movement, that's what I call philanthropy, and actually I'm going to call it philanthropy and advocacy, so I'll talk about that in a moment. And again, we continue to remind ourselves as a movement that we should be focusing forward. Yes, we are an organization with a long and rich history and tradition, but frankly, by focusing forward, that I think will help us achieve the challenges that we have today as an organization. Here's our GSSEM Key Priorities. Now, frankly, these have not changed in a few years. We'll be, in process of continuing to upgrade our strategic learning process, but I think these are still very relevant and still match to the priorities of GSSEM. First and foremost is ensuring that we can live within our means. So we want this council to be a financially healthy and stable council. And when Diane Young comes up to make her remarks, hopefully you'll see that that is the case. But nonetheless, we need to diversify our resources. We need to be diversifying our financial resources in terms of the sources of where they come. We also need to be diversifying the human resources, which is also a big contribution to this council in terms of allowing us to deliver program. Secondly, we want to increase the use of the national program portfolio while increasing the number of series and events for girls. So again, this is all very consistent with that Girl Scout leadership experience objective. Simplifying and amplifying services to volunteers. And this is an area that we continue to have a lot of work to do. And I'm going to show you some recent survey data from GSUSA that you may or may not find surprising. And then finally, to continue to improve our communications with our membership, as well as improving our council website. So let me talk now about a very, very key objective, and that is philanthropy, or what I like to call philanthropy and advocacy. This is one of the most important responsibilities of the board of directors, and I could make the case that, frankly, this is a responsibility of every member of this organization. I am very pleased at the amount of time, energy, and effort that has delivered some excellent results on the behalf of the board of directors. This has become a focus for us under Kathy Ocean's leadership. She is the chair of our Fund Development Committee. We have been keeping our role as champions of philanthropy and champions of the movement front and center at all board meetings. And so the board of directors have solicited and influenced not only corporate support, but have tirelessly worked through their networks, through their connections, to influence individual gifts that have gone into such things as supporting our Summer Dreams program, our family partnership. They've participated in the 5K walk, supported the golf outing. Of course, you're all aware that the Cookie Gala is coming up on Wednesday, and that event just keeps getting bigger and better every year. And so those are very, very important sources of funds to the organization. If I look at in total this, for this past year, board influence gifts, 30% of the total fundraising goal for the council was basically as a result of the influence of board members. So that translates into over $220,000, which of course then goes to support the programming of the council. So I'm very, very proud of my colleagues. I know we continue to set the bar higher and higher as to what we can accomplish here. But I have to say my hat's off to my board colleagues for your energy and effort in this space. In terms of advocacy, again, another important role of the board is to, we have opportunities to champion the Girl Scout organization, just as all of you do as volunteers, and we can do that within our network. And some of the ways that we are continuing to try to promote what Girl Scouting is about, particularly in what I want to say non-traditional circles. And I'll show you again in the research, we know how fabulous of an organization this is. The problem is there are lots of people who are not associated with Girl Scouts who don't have the same view. And so a key role of the board, as we are going in some of those non-traditional circles, is to continue to promote, advocate, and share the phenomenal things that Girl Scouting does. The One Tough Cookie Awards have been established. This will be the second year that we're doing those. We'll be giving those out at the Cookie Gala on Wednesday. These awards were established for people to nominate women either in a leadership capacity or a community service capacity, again, that may not be intimately familiar with Girl Scouting. And it's a wonderful way to, first of all, celebrate the wonderful things that these women are doing, and then really to demonstrate to them that the kinds of things they're doing are very consistent with our mission by inviting them to the Cookie Gala, introducing them to people. Our hope is that we can start a relationship with these award winners and, at least attempt to engage them and be involved in the organization. Board members have also been very active in speaking engagements, social media, a number of other areas in terms of, again, promoting the benefits of Girl Scouting. Okay. Now I want to shift gears here, and this is kind of the lead into the K through 5 GSUSA initiative. This is not a, I would have to say this is a bit of a sobering chart. And so what this chart is showing you is, so this is National Girl Scout membership. And so you can see that there were a couple places on this charts where there were drops in memberships, most notably when you look in, the 2004-2005 timeframe where the organization made a conscious decision to move away from, what is it, all girls, every girl everywhere. And frankly, we all know, we know in our legacy councils as well, that oftentimes we brought girls in, called them Girl Scouts, but really didn't give them a Girl Scout experience. And so we expected, and nationally, GSUSA expected a dip in the membership. And then when you got into like the 2010-2011 timeframe, the membership drop flattened out, and everybody was actually quite pleased with that because that was sort of anticipated, that at the same time the movement was going through realignment, and so as we were moving from the 313 councils to the just over 100 councils, and of course, we know that there was a lot of change and challenges in doing that, which had some impact on membership. And so all of that was behind. And so the belief was we flattened out, now we can start the growth. And then lo and behold, you look at the data in 2013 and 2014, and there's been some significant, this is at the national level, some significant membership decline. This is a huge wake-up call. And there's not one compelling reason of why this is the case. Although realignment happened around the country, oftentimes the right things that needed to go along with realignment to establish a healthy functioning council did not occur. And so that is some of the contribution. But when you deep dive the data, this is particularly alarming. Again, this is national data, but you can see from 2004 to 2009, the drop in our core group, which is our K through 5 girls, and then you can see, in another additional drop in 2013. And so this is particularly alarming because I think you would all agree K through 5, that is our core. Those girls are, and their families are our core customers. Our brand is better we have to work less hard in that group for our brand than, for example, with our older girls. Frankly speaking, this is our financial core. It's our K through 5 girls that bring in the bulk of membership dues, that bring in the bulk of the cookie revenue. So this is particularly troubling. And when GSUSA, as they've been watching this trend, this was the wake-up call, to say we are not focusing on our core. Something is wrong here. And so, because they had a lot of ideas what was happening here, but it's always good to get objective data, they commissioned a national research firm, Smarty Pants Research, based out of Tennessee, that does a lot of youth-oriented research. And kind of here in a summary is what they found, is that when you look at this K through 5 age group, where parental involvement or caregiver involvement is so critical, what they found is it's typically moms' fear of being trapped into being a leader. And that in and of itself kind of suggests that when they use the word trap, that there still is a connotation of being a leader is a lot of work, it's difficult, and it's something that once you're in, you have a hard time getting out. And so in many cases, parents weren't even coming to recruiting events. We do a lot of the recruiting, obviously, at this level in our schools, in our faith-based organizations. And so this fear of, women's fear of being trapped into this may have precluded them from even signing up their daughter. Or, again, the case of girls wanting to sign up but not having an adult to work with them. The other thing, and this one wasn't necessarily so surprising to me because of research that was done, earlier in the decade that kind of showed this. But again, there is a massive disconnect between how Girl Scouts is perceived. Externally, we still have a brand image issue. In fact, in this research, people talked about the Girl Scouts as their grandmother's sorority. But yet internally, we think we're kind of cool, we're kind of edgy, and have really changed over the last few years. And so it's the reconciliation of what we know about the organization and what others think about the organization that continues for us to be a challenge. Research also shows, and again, you probably all know this and say, why do you have to go research this? Because this may, to many of you, seem obvious. But traditional volunteers are best found through our schools. And oftentimes that's the kind of flyers that go to invite to a recruiting meeting, and word of mouth plays a particularly important role in getting people to be interested. You can see here, this is just some of the data in terms of the most effective way of communicating for recruiting people to come check us out. Okay? And so as a result of that, because of the data, because of the precipitous decline in our core constituencies of K through 5, GSUSA has launched a national campaign that will then benefit all of the councils. So it's like we don't have to each go develop campaigns on our own. And actually, this is really a nicely done campaign. It focuses on why do girls join Girl Scouts in K through 5? Because we just do so much fun activities. There's a lot, and at the same time you're having fun, you're learning leadership skills, and so you're especially, discovering, connecting, and taking action. So this launched the I Can't Wait To campaign, which is really a nicely done campaign. It is a multi-year initiative, so this isn't just a, one shot, we'll have it 1 year and then move on. And there's multiple pieces to this campaign. The first, the I Can't Wait, is really a national campaign for recruitment, again, that all councils will be able to leverage. But then importantly, as that campaign is going, there's a set of tools and business processes that are in place, and I am particularly excited about this. Any of you who may in your professional life have used Salesforce.com, there's that kind of customer relationship management tool that is being put in place. And I think we all find that oftentimes we get leads. I know even as board members, someone will say, geez, I'd really like to, use me if you can. And it's, being able to manage that and, certainly engage people who are interested in keeping track of all of that. And then most importantly, and Denise will talk more about this, is a toolkit to make it easy to be a volunteer. If there's one thing that has come out of that research is it's still complicated and time-consuming and not user-friendly to be a Girl Scout volunteer. And so we have a tremendous amount of challenge. We all know that with lifestyles today and dual working families and so on, you just have so much more demands on your time. And if we can't make it easy and turnkey and simple, then we shouldn't be surprised that people are telling us we can't participate. So that's our challenge there. This also then gets into looking at how we engage volunteers. And again, a lot of what I talked about was how we go about engaging our traditional volunteers. And our traditional volunteers are incredibly important, are incredibly, and I would have to say that probably people in this room, myself included, would be considered traditional volunteers. Without you, there is no Girl Scout program. But because of our need to serve girls and because of time constraints, we need to reach out into what we're calling the non-traditional volunteer ranks. And these may, again, be primarily women who can't make a long-term commitment, but may be able to come in and engage with girls, do a program. And so we've very much tried over the last year to engage non-traditional volunteers. And I think the progress that is being made in this space is actually incredible. And there's nowhere to go but up. So over the past year, we've had more than 100 business women volunteer with our council. And that Camp Moxie has been an incredible opportunity. We had women, so we have two pretty prominent women's organizations in Michigan, the Michigan Women's Foundation and the Women's Officials Network, that have adopted Camp Moxie. They think that Camp Moxie is just an outstanding opportunity for us to teach girls leadership skills and community advocacy. And so we had women from those organizations, many of them holding political office, that came and spoke. They were on panels, they spoke to the girls, they worked with them on some of the activities for community activism and the use of social media. There's a very cool speed mentoring program where girls have the opportunity for short periods of time to go around to different to a different person and talk about different ideas they have. So we had great participation. And I was just at a meeting because I'm associated with both of those organizations, and they're already, those two women's organizations are already, we have the dates for this year's Camp Moxie, they're already recruiting and have women that are already putting save the dates on their calendar. So that's an outstanding partnership. We also have had many cases where it may be a women's network from a company, for example, DTE, comes in and will work with our girls on badge-related opportunities. And so, this has happened this year at the Daisy level, at the junior level, at the cadet level, to work on badges. Again, that's a great way, to involve women for potentially a half a day or a couple-hour activity and allow them to engage with girls. And then finally, one thing we also did, the International Women's Foundation had a dinner this year that, with its membership, that was focused on the Girl Scouts. We had that at the Docent. We had 8 of our Girl Advisory Board members that participated. In fact, two of our young ladies here today spoke and shared their experiences about how Girl Scouting had helped them to grow and develop as leaders. And then we had girls sit at each of the tables with these group of women. And that was successful not only from an awareness perspective, but there were several women after that said, I want to reconnect with Girl Scouting. I'd like to engage. And so our plan is to continue to do more of that. And in fact, that's very consistent with what particularly our older girls say, is they want opportunities to interface with other women. Okay? So this leads me to the bottom line, and that is our belief is that the priorities of this council continue to align and support the priorities of GSUSA. You will hear from Diane Young a little bit later, but we are fortunate because of the leadership of Denise and her team that we have a fiscally sound and healthy council that then allows us to support the programming that we offer for our girls. We're confident that GSUSA now has a sound plan to focus on K-5 membership, and we'll be able to take, and already are taking advantage of that. However, I want to emphasize, just because the focus of that initiative is K-5, no one should walk out of here thinking that Girl Scouting is just a K-5. We are continuing at our council to support programming for K-12, and in fact, as you can see, particularly some of the non-traditional engagement is very much focused at opportunities for older girls. And then finally, GSSEM needs both our traditional and non-traditional volunteers.
Moxie I thought it was a great opportunity to meet new people, to get acquainted with new girls, to expand my network.
I would definitely say to anybody watching who may be interested or has heard about Camp Moxie, definitely try it just at least once. I had never heard of social entrepreneurship. I didn't even know what it was, and I didn't really think that I would be into it, but honestly, Camp Moxie has taught me so much about myself and about my future and what I want to do, and has given me such great connections in the workforce that I know that I'll be prepared even when I leave camp.
As for social entrepreneurship, even if you're starting in a small range, as I've learned, like in my community, my mentors that I spoke to gave me so many ideas that I could do on a smaller scale just to start off with, and then eventually expand to something that could like change the world.
It is an amazing experience. You get great mentors, you get great connections, you get business cards, you get people who actually believe that you can do anything you put your mind to, and it can be a great help for someone who doesn't think that they can do something, and they really can.
Just realizing that women can do anything a man can do, and it's just empowering to know that you can't be like stopped by your gender.
Be really open-minded and really receptive to the information when you first come here, because it's not like regular camp, and it's a completely different experience.
Camp Moxie is very fun. It's awesome to come here and meet new girls and just listen to all of the speakers. It's a blast. You will have a great time.
I learned when the moment strikes, go with it and be ready to be surprised.